Okay, now we're going to start making the sword itself. I have laid out here a portion of my blue foam. You might already start to realize it's actually going to curl up on you, so it might be good to invest in some paperweight. I got some textbooks that are just sitting around, so they're perfect. So the first thing I want to do is you want to create the portion of the blade that we've discussed earlier. I want to put down my blade on the mat so that I can determine how long it needs to be. Now what we want to do is we want to cut out a portion of the blade that is about 3 inches wide. Now it doesn't have to be exactly 3 inches, but you want to make sure that it's as straight as possible. Your workmanship here is going to be very important. It's going to determine how good your blade looks. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to measure 3 inches all the way across. Now the way I do that is, instead of making a mistake, what I do is I will measure 3 inches like so, and with a Sharpie I am going to mark exactly where 3 inches is. Now I'm going to do that all the way down the length of the blade, and now I can basically connect the dot, and I will know that whatever line that I draw here will for sure be a straight line. Okay, now I have drawn a line all the way down my dots, making this exactly 3-inch width all the way across. Now I did this on a straight edge of the foam already, not in the middle. That way I don't have to worry about one edge. And I already know that this edge on my right hand side is exactly straight as well, because that's how it is coming out of the package. Okay, so you'll notice that down here there's a little bit of odd shape here. This area is actually 3 inches, but right here is actually 3.5 inches. Now if I put my rod exactly against the shape that I've drawn, you'll see that that little notch actually fits your rod perfectly. Now the way it works is, like I said before, there's going to be 2-inch worth of padding so that your rod doesn't actually go through your sword. So this is why I left 2 inches. Now because I left that 2 inches, I'm going to need a little notch here so that the rod can exactly fit into place. So this is what it's going to look like when you have it. And this is what the rod is going to do inside your sword. So let's get a straight edge and let's cut this shape out. Alright, so I've cut out the piece that I just drew. It is exactly 32 inches long. That's the length of my entire blade. Okay, the next step is pretty simple. We're going to cut out a rectangular portion that is exactly the length of however long your blade happened to be. Like I said, in my case it was 32 inches. Now you want the width of it to be 7 inches. So again, how do we draw a straight line? Well, we measure 7 inches and we draw a bunch of dots all the way down so that it looks rectangular. So what we're going to do is we are going to draw a line that is straight down, connecting all the dots, and this way, again, it's a straight line. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, and then after that we'll cut this piece out. Okay, so I got these two pieces cut out, and now it's time to glue them together. Alright, so you notice that I actually drew an outline of this shape onto the bigger piece. This way I will know exactly where my boundaries are so that I don't waste my DAP. If you never used DAP before, this will be a good learning experience for you. Unlike regular glue, DAP requires you to glue both sides. So for example, if you were to glue this portion onto that portion, what you would need to do is apply a thin layer and a thin layer on this edge, and then you need to apply a thin layer on this edge. Once you put the glue on, you have to wait for about 15 minutes to 20 minutes until the glue actually dries, and then you can glue. When the glue is drying, it is very important that they get plenty of ventilation so that you do not make yourself sick. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, so what I am doing now I am putting a thin layer. Try not to breathe in any of this stuff, it's pretty toxic. I'm putting a thin layer, or as thin as possible, on the first surface. I am keeping within the lines, so again, I do not waste my dab. Okay, now that the dab are applied, we're going to wait about 20 minutes for it to dry. Okay, let's try to put them together now. It's been about 15 to 20 minutes. And be very, very careful how you're gluing, because like I said, you don't have that much chances to fix it if you happen to mess up. Alright, so just glue the surface like so, flatten out, and there we go. The first portion of it is complete.